Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Nandi. Welcome to my YouTube channel Excelsior Physics. In this video, we are going to talk about the momentum multiple choice questions what we have got in the previous year papers. In the first one, a car of mass m traveling at speed v stops in time t with maximum braking force is applied. Assuming that the braking force is independent of mass, what time would it be required to stop a car of mass 2m traveling at speed v? So in the first part, so here we can use the impulse momentum theorem. According to that impulse momentum theorem, that force times by time delta t, that will be same as the change in momentum. So it's delta p. Now what are the informations we have? Initially the mass of the car is m, traveling at speed v, stops in time t, which means for the first case situation, that force times time, that will be equal to mass times change in velocity. Its final velocity, that will be equal to 0 because it's getting stopped, and its initial velocity, that is v. So we can say it's 0 minus v. That is the first case. Now in the second case, assuming that the braking force is independent of the mass, what time it would be required to stop a car of mass 2m traveling at speed v? So in the second case, the force, it's given that is independent of the mass, that means force will be remaining same. That means F times, and what time is required? So we have to find out the t prime. So since t we don't know, so I'm just considering that is equal to t prime, and that is also same as the change in momentum. Change in momentum, it can be represented by, now at present the mass it is given as 2m, so it's 2m times by change in velocity. So its final velocity, it would be 0. The car has to be stopped, and its initial velocity is given as v. So it is 0 minus v. Now from here we can say it is 2 into m negative into v. And initial part we have got f into t, that is equal to negative m into v. So from the first equation, instead of negative mv, we can substitute that f into t. So it is twice of negative mv. So instead of negative mv, we can substitute f into t, and from there we can make a comparison that ff is getting cancelled. That means t prime, it becomes twice of the t. The time taken, it is double of the initial time in the first case. So answer is D. In question number 2 is given, a block of mass m is initially at rest on a frictionless floor. The block attached to a massless spring with spring constant k is initially at its equilibrium position. An arrow with mass m, small m, velocity v, is shot into the block. The arrow sticks to the block. What is the maximum compression of the spring? So what are the informations we have? A block of mass m initially at rest. So let's consider the block, its mass equal to m. Initially it is in rest condition, so its velocity, it's 0 on a frictionless floor. So mu equal to 0. The block attached to a massless spring with spring constant k. The block attached to a massless spring with spring constant k initially at its equilibrium position. So it is attached with a massless spring with spring constant k, and initially it is in equilibrium position. An arrow with mass m and velocity v is shot into the block, and the arrow sticks in the block. So it is, spring is attached here. Now here in this case, so here an arrow with mass m and velocity v is shot into the block. So now one arrow whose mass is equal to m and its velocity equal to v is shot into the block, and the arrow sticks in the block. So initially means the arrow, it was having the motions, that is velocity v, its mass is small m, and the block, it is in rest condition. We have to determine after collisions with this block, they are combined, means we can consider that this is a perfectly inelastic collision. Now what is the maximum compression of the spring? So let's proceed with, first we have to find out after the collision what would be the velocity of this block and the arrow system. So for that we can apply the conservation of momentum. Now according to conservation of momentum, the total momentum before the collision, that is mass of the arrow times by velocity of the arrow plus mass of the block times by velocity of the block before the collision, that is 0. And after the collision, since they are stick together, it's given that arrow sticks in the block, that means they will be moving with the constant velocity. Combined velocity I'm considering, that is equal to v prime. So after the collision, the total momentum, it becomes, as they have combined, so the total mass of the system times by the velocity. From there we can find out what would be the final velocity after the collision, that is mv upon m plus m. That's representing the velocity after the collision. Now we have to determine that what is the maximum compression of the spring. To determine the maximum compression of the spring, what we have to think now, this block with arrow, it moving with the velocity v prime, and when it will be like maximum compressed, let's say at this position, so maximum compressed position, the velocity of the block and the arrow system, it again becomes 0, final velocity. And in that case, let's consider the spring has compressed by a distance that is equal to x. X, I am considering the compression of the spring, and since the spring has compressed, so it is going to store some amount of potential energy, that is known as the spring potential energy. Now at this two position, we can apply the conservation of energy at the position 1 and at the position 2, when the spring is compressed, fully compressed, and the block and the arrow system, it is 0. The velocity of the block and the arrow system, it becomes 0. Now in between 1 and 2 position, if we are going to apply the conservation of energy, so in that case we can say the kinetic energy at the position 1, that will be equal to the spring potential energy at the position 2. Now the kinetic energy at the position 1, that would be half into mass of the total system, that is m plus m, and they are moving with the velocity, that is v prime, so v prime square, that is equal to the spring potential energy. Expressions of spring potential energy, that is half into k into, since k is given the spring constant in the statement, and it got compressed by the distance x, and this is the maximum compression, so half k x square. We have to find out that value of x. Now let's make x as a subject. This 2 is eliminated. M plus m, it's v prime square upon k. Now let's substitute the value of v prime, what we have got from the previous equation, that v prime, that is equal to, it's m plus m upon k times by v prime square, that is m times v upon m plus m whole square. And initially it was spring, it was x square, so let's make this x square here, or we can just directly do the square root of this section. So from there we can say this is m v whole square upon k into m plus m. 1 m plus m is getting cancelled from here, so that represents x square, or x directly we can say it's the square root of the entire part, that would be mv whole square upon k into m plus m. Now from there we can say it is mv upon square root of k into m plus m, so that would be the x, which basically gives the, it would be d. Here it is given a 50 kg skater at rest on a frictionless ring throws 2 kg ball, giving the ball a velocity of 10 meter per second. Which statement describes the skater's subsequent motion? 0.4 meter per second in the same directions as the ball's motions. Okay, that means after throwing the ball, what would be the velocity of the skater, that we have to find out. What are the informations we have? A 50 kg skater at rest. So initially it was in rest conditions, and on a frictionless ring. Throws a 2 kg ball. Mass of the ball is given. So initially, here also we can apply the conservation of momentum. According to the conservation of momentum, the total momentum before throwing the ball and the total momentum after throwing the ball, it will be conserved. So before throwing the ball, that skater and the ball, it was in rest condition. That means total momentum before throwing, it would be 0. And after throwing, I don't know that what is the velocity of the skater. So skater, probably it has thrown the ball along these directions. The mass of the ball is m and the velocity of the ball is given that 10 meter per second. So its velocity of the ball, that is equal to 10 meter per second, and the mass of the skater, that is 50 kg, and I don't know that in which directions it is moving. So let's consider, for example, I'm considering it is also moving along these directions with v prime velocity. So according to that conservation of momentum, total momentum after throwing the ball, the mass of the skater, that is m, times velocity of the skater v prime. Since I'm considering that velocity of the skater, it is also along the same directions of the mass motions of the ball, that means both are becoming added, means both we have to add mass of the ball times by the velocity of the ball. Now let's we have to find out the v prime. So v prime equal to, it's negative of mass of the ball times by velocity of the ball upon mass of the skater. Mass of the ball is given as, that is 2 kg, times by velocity of the ball is 10 upon mass of the skater is 50. So it is negative 0.4 meter per second. What does it mean by negative sign? The negative sign, it represents that, yeah, so in which directions we have considered the velocity, it should be moving in the opposite direction. That means the options, it would be 0.4 meter per second in the opposite directions of the ball's motion, that is B. So in this case, it's given that a tennis ball of mass m rebounds from a racket with the same speed v as it had initially, as shown. The magnitude of the momentum change of the ball. So let's consider, this one is representing the racket, and here the motions of the ball, that is the velocity v in after and before the collision, but the directions is getting changed, and here in this case the angle is given here, that is equal to theta. It's theta. We have to determine that magnitude of the momentum change of the ball. So in that case, first this ball, initially it is moving along these directions, and finally it is coming out along these directions in the opposite direction, and this is representing the racket. So let's do the component resolutions of the vector, components resolutions of this velocity. So this will be the component resolutions of the velocity. This angle is theta, which means this angle supposed to be theta, alternate angle concept, and if it is moving with velocity v, then after the, means the horizontal component, it would be v cosine theta, and the vertical component, it would be v sine theta. And similarly, here also this angle is supposed to be theta, corresponding angle, and it can be dissolved into two components, that is v cosine theta, and the vertical component is v sine theta. The side component, which is making the angle with the resultant vector, that will become the cosine component. So by this way, easily we can resolve any vector. Now the magnitude of the momentum change of the ball. Now we can define, it's basically representing a two-dimensional collision. We can define the horizontal direction as our x-axis and the vertical directions as our y-axis. So let's make out what is the momentum change along the y directions. So along the y directions, the momentum change, that would be after the change in the momentum delta p along the y direction before the collision and after the collision. That means after the collisions, the total momentum along the y direction, that is m into v into sine theta, and before the collision, this is also along the same directions, so it would be m into v into sine theta, which means there is no momentum change along the y directions. Along the y directions, the momentum, it will be remaining conserved. And now we are trying to find out along the x direction. how much will be the momentum change along the x direction. So for that we can say that delta p along the x direction after the collision, it is moving in the coming outer part, means towards the negative x-axis. So that we can say is the negative of m into v into cosine of theta. And before collisions, it will be moving in the positive x-axis, that is with v cos theta. But we are trying to make a difference here. So here negative of m into v into cosine theta. So finally we will be getting it is negative of 2 into m into v into cosine theta. So it is basically the total momentum change along the negative x-axis directions. So that's why it gives the negative sign here. We can take the absolute value of that, and finally the answer it becomes that 2 mv cosine theta, that's the momentum change. So that would be the option D. So here it is given the two blocks of masses m and 2m shown above initially travel at the same speed v, but in opposite directions. They collide and stick together. How much mechanical energy is lost to other form of energy during the collision? So since they stick together, that means from there directly we can say it is going to execute the perfectly inelastic collision. Initially the two blocks are moving with the velocities v and v, but their masses are different, and we don't know that after collisions in which directions they are moving. So for that, let's apply the conservation of momentum. So according to this conservation of momentum, total momentum before the collision, that is m times v, mass times velocity of the first object, plus mass times velocity. Since the velocity it is in the opposite direction, so we have to consider negative v, equal to, and let's consider after the collision they will be having the combined velocity. Means initially the small m, means m is moving with velocity v along these directions, and 2m is moving with the velocity along these directions. Now let's consider after the collision they will be having the combined velocity in a particular directions, so that is equal to v prime, and that v prime that we have to determine. So it will be m plus 2m after the collision, since they have stick together, times by the v prime. So from there we can say it is negative m into v, that is equal to 3m into v prime, and from there we can say v prime equal to v upon 3. So that's the final velocity after the collision, and this will be negative sign is also there. That negative sign, it represents that it moves along the negative x-axis direction. This is representing the negative sign. Now what we have to determine, we have to determine the how much mechanical energy is lost to other form of energy during the collision. So in that case what we can do, basically mechanical energy loss, and mechanical energy it consists of kinetic energy and gravitational potential energy. However, there is no change in the gravitational potential energy because all the motions are along the horizontal position, which means there will be the certain change in the kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy change, it will be representing the change in the mechanical energy. So this delta me, change in the mechanical energy, that can be represented by kinetic energy initial minus kinetic energy final, means difference in between the kinetic energy initial and final. And what is the initial kinetic energy? That is half into m into v square plus half into 2m into v square. Since energy it's a scalar quantity, we don't have to consider the direction at this position, minus kinetic energy after the collision, that is half into total mass of the system, that is m plus 2m after the collision, since they are moving together, m plus 2m times by v prime square. So from there what we can say, it is 2 is cancelled out, half mv square plus mv square, that will be giving 3 by 2 m v square, minus it is 3m by 2, and v prime that already we have got, that is negative v by 3. So if you do the square, that would be giving v square by 9, and after simplifying this we'll be getting, so here we are getting 4 by 3 m v square. That would be option C. So here it is given, the graph shows the force on an object of mass m as a function of time. For the time interval 0 to 4 seconds, the total change in the momentum of the object. So here in the graph, along the y-axis the force is represented, and along the x-axis the time is represented. So now we can apply the change. We have to find out the change in momentum. For that we can apply the impulse momentum theorem. So according to that impulse momentum theorem, the change in momentum, that would be same as the change in momentum, that is same as the impulse. So it's delta m v. We have to find out the change in momentum. That means we have to find out the what is the area under the curve. Since the force it's represented along the y-axis and time it represents along the x-axis. If we can determine that what is the area under the curve, that is going to represent the change in momentum. And since the momentum it's a vector quantity, so upper area that would be considering positive and the lower area would be considering as negative. So from there we can say that what is the total area in between 0 to 2 seconds, that is 10 times 2, and what is the total area in between 2 to 4 seconds, that is also 10 times 2, but it is negative 10 times 2. That means total area under the curve is 0, which means the change in momentum, that will be also 0. Here it is given, an object m on the end of a string moves in a circle initially of radius r on a horizontal frictionless table as shown. As the string is pulled very slowly through a small hole in the table, which of the following is correctly for an observer measuring from the hole in the table? So the informations we have, one object whose mass is m and which is placed on the table of a string. So this mass m and the radius initially it's r and it is revolving, moves in a circle. Initially the radius is r on a horizontal frictionless table. That means coefficient of friction, that is equal to 0. As the string is pulled very slowly through a small hole, that means along these directions it is going to move. It is going to move along these directions. It is going to be pulled. Which of the following is correctly for an observer measuring from the hole in the table? Now let's analyze the options. So first is the angular momentum of m remain constant. Let's figure out what is the angular momentum. Angular momentum that is represented by L, and that is nothing but that r times m into v. So that can be also represented in terms of moment of inertia times by the angular velocity. That's representing the angular momentum, where I stands for moment of inertia, and the omega, that stands for angular velocity. So here the angular momentum of m remains constant. The second option is given, the angular momentum of m decreases. The kinetic energy of m remains constant. The kinetic energy of m decreases. So which of the following is correct? The expressions of kinetic energy, that is half into m into v square. That's the expressions of kinetic energy. So only these two things they have given, whether the angular momentum is the first point and kinetic energy, that's expression is half m v square. So which one is going to change or which one is going to remaining same, that we have to determine. This is the questions actually we are going to mostly discuss in the next 7th unit of the AP Physics 1 syllabus, that's the rotational mechanics, where we'll be having one concept that's called the conservation of angular momentum. Conservation of angular momentum. So according to this conservation of angular momentum, if we are not going to apply any kind of external force on the system, then the momentum it will be remaining, or in any kind of external torque in the system, then the momentum it will be remaining same. So here this I mean this moment of inertia I, it can be represented as half into m into r square. However, it looks like that r is getting reduced. If it is getting pulled towards radially inward direction, so its r is getting reduced, right? But the thing is, if the r is getting reduced, automatically its angular velocity is going to increase such a way so that the angular momentum it will be remaining conserved. So I into omega it will be remaining conserved. So here the answer it would be the first one, the angular momentum of m remain constant since r it getting decreased, but the omega angular speed is going to decrease, we're going to increase, and combinedly it will be going to give the angular momentum it is remaining conserved. So the option that is the first one. Here the kinetic energy it is not going to conserve since you are pulling the things, so the angular velocity is going to change, and angular velocity is going to change. So from there we can say that v equal to omega times r, right? Its angular velocity is going to change, but however this radius is also going to change, but from there we can say that half mv square it will be going to change. Overall that kinetic energy it is going to change, so it is not going to remain conserved. Here it is, a 2 kg object initially moving with constant velocity is subjected to a force of magnitude f in the directions of motion. A graph of f as a function of time t is shown. What is the increase, if any, in the velocity of the object during the time the force is applied? What is the increase in the velocity of the object? So we have to find out what would be the increase in the velocity. What are the informations given? It's 2 kg object, so mass of the object that is equal to 2 kg, initially moving with certain constant velocity, is subjected to a force of magnitude f. So certain force is applied. A graph of f as a function of time t is shown. What is the increase in the velocity of the object during the time? What is the increase in the velocity of the object during the time of the force applied? We have the force and time graph. So along the x-axis is representing the time graph. So here also we can apply the impulse momentum theorem. Impulse momentum theorem. According to that impulse momentum theorem, the total impulse force times time that is equal to the change in momentum, and change in momentum that is the final momentum minus initial momentum. So from there we can say m into v minus u. V minus u is representing the change in velocity, so that is m into delta v, and f into t that is the force times time, that we can figure out what is the area under the curve that represents the impulse, that representing the impulse from here. So here we have to find out the area under the curve. So let's compute the area under the curve. It's a looking like a trapezium, so it will be half into summation of parallel side be 5 minus 1, that is 4 times 4 plus 2 times by the perpendicular distance in between the two parallel sides, that is 2. So from there you will be getting 6. Now delta v it would be 6 upon m. Mass is given as 2 kg, which means 6 upon 2, that is 3. 3 meter per second, that's the change in the velocity. B.